morning, everyone. Let's get started like usual. So we're going to go ahead and find that length in our spine, really elongating, feeling that space, starting with our 10 chin tucks, okay? Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Let's reset. Find that length again. Head turns 5 each direction, alternating. Ready? Begin. 1. Back to center. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, we're going to get to our first block, which is our, we're going to have a 9-minute warm up today. Okay, so 9 minutes of warming up, all body weight moves. So we're going to start with our cherry pickers and our arm reach. Just going to get my timer on here. So standing or seated. And where is timer? Okay, so we're going to go through 2 rounds of this, and cherry pickers wider than shoulder width apart here, seated or standing. I just have to get through the ad on my timer. Sorry, guys. Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right, crazy morning. Here we go. We're going to start with our cherry pickers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, we're going to add that arm reach if you can. So out, middle, inwards, in, up. Okay, I'll show you from the side, outwards, middle, and then inwards and up, okay? If you prefer this seated, you're just gonna have a seat, have your feet wider than your shoulders, out, middle, in, up, good. So either or, warming up here. We've got ham curls with a rowboat row coming up next. 5 more seconds here. And time. So let's bring it into our ham curls right here. And we're going to pull back like we're rowing oars on a boat here, okay? If you're seated, this is be at the edge of your chair here. And it's more of a toe tap just because it's hard to pull the heel. You might be able to pull the heel back, but it's okay if it's a toe tap. Let's just get that knee joint moving. Seated or standing here. Next, we are going into a side step, and we're going to do an arm raise with it today. So I'll show you that when we get there. Three, 2, and 1. So we're going to go side step. Okay. So we were doing our lateral raises the last few weeks. Now we're coming up. Whew. Seated, boom, right here, okay? 15 more seconds here. And then we're gonna go into cross body punches. Whew. 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. Boom. Adding a little rotation to the body, a little pivot on that back foot. If you're standing, feel the twist through your hips there. Seated, there's less of a pivot with your feet, and it's more you're going to feel that upper body moving, that thoracic spine stretching out here. Okay, so either or. 20 more seconds here. And then we're going to go into what do we got next? We've got keep it going. Okay. Okay, after this one, we're going to go to our step back with our front raise. 3, 2, and 1. So it's our step back. I'm putting that full heel down to the ground. Remember, we're kind of loosening up our calves and ankles here. And I'm doing that by putting my whole heel down on the floor behind me. Also helps open up our hip flexors, and we are still working on that shoulder mobility, getting them nice and warmed up. If you're seated, I would suggest doing your arm raise and giving me leg extensions like this. A little different, but it's just the nature of being seated makes it a little harder to get into those calves. All right, we've got one more after this. We've got our squat, pivot, and reach. And I'll show you that in just a second. 3, 2, and 1. So our last one is we're going to squat, pivot, and reach. Squat, pivot, and reach. Okay, so warming up the hips. Keep it going. If you're seated, this is new, guys. If you're seated, go ahead and give me a twist back and forth, like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That works on our hips, internal and external rotation, which we're doing in our pivot and reach here. 3, 2, and 1. Let's bring it back to the top. We've got another round. So we're going to do our cherry pickers with our arm reach, okay? Ready? And begin. 1, 2, 3. Going at your own pace, whatever feels good and appropriate. We're trying to take our joints through their full range of motion. And we're trying to warm up our internal body temperature to prime our body for the work to come. 15 more seconds here. Then we're going to go to our ham curls with that rowboat row. 5, 2, and 1. Here we go. Boom. Thirty more seconds here. Side step to front raise is next. Ten more seconds here. 3, 2, and 1. I lied. It was more like 5 seconds. Here we go. Ooh. I think this one's the most challenging out of all our warm-up moves. Woo. Keep it going. Feel that body temperature elevate. 10 more seconds. And we're doing our cross body punches. 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. Boom. Boom. Remember, always take your drinks when you need it. If you feel you need to take a break, get a drink. Our timer is just a guide. Make sure we end on time here. But listen to your body's cues. Excuse me, I have a little bit of allergies going on this morning. 3, 2, and 1. Front raise and calf step back. Remember, we're trying to get that whole heel, if you're standing, plant on the floor here. I feel a nice calf stretch, ankle mobility. "15 more seconds here. Now 10. 5, 3, 2, and 1. Last exercise, squat, pivot, and reach. Nice side body stretch here. Should feel right all the way down that side of the body here. "15 more seconds and we're done our extended warm up." Whew. Whew. 5 seconds. 3, 2, and time. Nice job, guys. Okay. 2 more blocks today. Okay, just 2 more. So our first one is going to be our 45-15, and it's 18 minutes long. We've got 3 exercises. We're going to do 2 rounds of those 3 exercises. Then we've got a second set of 3 exercises. We're going to do our 2 rounds of that. And then we're going to put the 3 exercises from the first set and the 3 exercises from the second set together for 1 more round to get our 3 rounds in. So this is like our ABAB, but we're doing it with 3 exercises, okay? So we've got all our compound movements here, which means we're moving through more than 1 joint at a time. So our first one is our sumo squat. So heels are outside of the width of the shoulder, right? Flare out in the toes. Show you from this side. We're going to push the hips back and then the knees follow, okay? So sumo squat, we can hold our weight down low and keep that weight close to the body, okay? That'll help with any lower back pressure here. So we're just going to go ahead and drive through that. If you're seated, lateral tap, leg extension alternating, okay? Next exercise, our gorilla row to stand. So wider than shoulder width apart, toes forward. And now we're going to hinge, different from our sumo squat, because now our upper body comes down, right? We're kind of closing like a suitcase. Row, other side row, squeeze the glutes to come up, okay? So we've got a sumo squat and then a hinge movement, which is like our deadlift in row. After that, and then seated, that's going to look basically the same. We're going to row, row, up, okay? After that, lateral lunge, okay? You have options here. You can do it without anything around you. Maybe just have a chair or a wall near you if you want to just, brace yourself. So I don't have enough room over here. Lateral lunge. Let me do it this way. Lateral lunge, lateral lunge. So our one leg goes straight and our other leg bends and we hinge into it. If you're seated, we're going to do alternating abduction here, okay? After that, we've got our ground to overhead. So we're going to pick it up, put it away, okay? Looks the same seated. Then we've got our bow and arrow row, getting that upper back in rotation. And then our final exercise is our regular lunge, okay? So again, you can do this without anything near you, a chair, and if you're seated, or with, holding onto your chair, or if you're seated, alternating leg press. Okay, let's go ahead, guys. 45-15, we're gonna do the first 3 exercises first, and we're starting with our sumo squat. All right, seated or standing, nice and wide with those heels outside the width of our shoulder, toes out, ready, and begin. So I'm sinking down. My chest stays a little more upright because remember, our next one is that gorilla row, and that's where it's more of a hinge, okay? We'll see our upper body fold forward as we push our hips back, right? When we squat, we get a little more quad engagement with glutes. And when we hinge, we get a little more hamstring engagement with glutes, okay? Subtle changes in our positioning that allow us to hit different muscle groups. Driving up through the floor here. 3, 2, and 1, okay? We're still gonna be shoulder, outside the width of our shoulders, but our toes are gonna be facing forward now, right? And we're gonna push the hips all the way back. 3, 2, and 1. So, boom, see that difference? Now I'm gonna row. Think you're pulling like really tricky onion weeds out of the ground, right? Ugh, gotta get that weed out. And then use your hamstrings and glutes Engage them. Feel that muscle contraction pulling you back up to a standing position. Looking for a neutral spine. Kind of keep like you can put a tray on your back with a glass of water on it, and it would, it would balance on there when you're in this row position. 3, 2, and 1. Good. Lateral lunges are next. So that's either lateral taps, lateral abduction from the seated position. You can use your chair if you want here. 3, 2, and 1. You're going to step it out to the side. Drop that hip back. The other leg's extended state. Drive up, return. Other side, drop it back, return, okay? If you're advanced, you might not need anything. So my one leg gets a nice stretch, while the other glute gets a nice contraction as I drive back up to center. Remember, you can hold on to your chair, or you can take this to seated abduction taps. We're going to go back to our first exercise next. We're going back to our sumo squat. 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Sumo, heels outside the width of the shoulder, toes flared out. Keep that chest a little bit higher. We still start by pushing those hips back, okay? Ready? And begin. So hips go back right here, and then my knees follow, right? Drive up. Make sure your knees stay in line with your toes. We don't want them to cave inwards. So we've got to consciously think, are my knees pushing outwards, right? And I'm really actively thinking of pushing into the floor, right? I'm grounding my feet, really think of using that leverage to engage my muscles. 10 more seconds here. And we're going back to our gorilla row to stand. 3, 2, and 1. 15 seconds. Take your drinks whenever you need them. Feet outside the width of the shoulders again. This time toes are forward, okay? Ready? And begin. Push it back. Nice neutral spine, right? My spine is like a tabletop right now. Squeeze the glutes up. Row, other row. Use the hamstrings and glutes. Always keeping that belly button pulled back towards your spine throughout the whole movement. Ten more seconds here. Then we're going back to our lateral lunges. 2, and 1. Okay. Remember, you can hold on to your chair, both hands on the chair to perform these. You can do it without the chair, or you can do your lateral or your alternating abductions from the chair. Ready? And begin. So step, boom, step. It's one of those 2-for-1 exercises I call, right? Because you get to strengthen on one side of the leg and then stretch on the other side. Excellent exercise for mobility through the hips, as well as stability through the knees. Ten more seconds here, then we're going to move on to our second set of 3 exercises, okay? 3, 2, and time. Great. Now we're on to our second set. So we've got our ground overhead, okay? So our feet are about shoulder width apart or right outside, toes are forward, okay? Let's get ready and begin. We're going to pick that box up and put it on the shelf, right? So just like our gorilla row, we sink those hips back, right? And that puts all of the load in our glutes, right? Which are like the largest muscle groups in our body. So we want those glutes to assist us when we pick that box up off the floor. So push them back and then use them to lift up. Core engaged. Five more seconds here. Then we're going to go into our bow and arrow row. 2 and 1. Okay. If you have a TheraBand, like you have a resistance band and you'd like to use it here, that's always an option. But body weight is fine here too. We can really dial in on that mind muscle connection. All right. So whether you're seated or standing, my knuckles are facing the ceiling. You know, I'm following my elbow with my eyes. And I'm keeping my elbow shoulder height the whole time. I'm not letting it drop. I'm thinking about those muscles in the back of my shoulder. And I am also thinking about that thoracic rotation, that rotation I have through my rib cage here, okay? These rotational movements help with things like, maybe you like to golf, okay? Or even something as basic as putting on your seatbelt, okay? So these all have function in our activities of daily living. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, our next one is a lunge, guys. Okay, we got 2 sets of lunges in this block. So now we're doing our regular lunge. So you can hold on to the back of your chair, or the side of your chair, or no chair, or your seated leg press. Ready? And begin. And maybe if you're really advanced, maybe if you're like next level and you want to just grab a pair of weights, you can always add your weights to your reverse lunge. The most important thing here is the quality of your work, okay? So don't rush. If you feel like your repetitions are getting sloppy, maybe take a drink, all right? Recover a little bit, refocus the mind, and then slow it down and try to, you know, use some assistance if you need it, like the chair. 10 more seconds, then we're going back to ground to overhead. Whew. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, take your drinks as you need it. It's a lot of compound movements. This is puppy. Back to ground overhead, okay? So we're gonna pick that box up, put it away. Feet right outside the shoulders or in line with, toes are forward. Here we go. Pick it up. Put it on the shelf. Okay. Pick it up. So if we can create that strong pattern of thinking, when you're bending over to pick something up, it's more about your hips pushing back so that you can recruit those glutes versus your head bending forward so you can pick up a box, right? It's all about how you set it up and think about the movement that's going to help you with that success of that movement pattern. 2 and 1, okay. Bow and arrow row. Seated or standing, our knuckles are facing the ceiling here. Ready? And begin. We're going to pull that elbow back. We're staring at it the whole time, and then we're returning. Sitting up, shoulder height. Feel that rotation through your spine, how your body moves from side to side around the spine. Good. We're halfway through this one. Then we're going to lunge again. Regular reverse lunges are next. Or if you're seated, you're going to do your seated leg press. Whew. 10 more seconds here. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, regular reverse lunges here. Remember, you've got all the options if you want to stand with your chair this way, or no chair, or seated alternating leg press, or with weights, okay? Ready? And begin. Couple things to remind yourself of is to keep some space between your left and right leg so that you have more stability. You have better balance this way than if they're like too close behind and one in front of the other. And also, if you feel like your form's breaking down, maybe slow it down and count out the movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, sometimes that helps too. 10 more seconds here, then we're going all the way back to the top, okay? So we got sumo squats next. And time on those. Woo! Back through the whole thing one more time. Let's get ready for our sumo squat. Wider than shoulder width, toes are flared out. Chest is gonna stay upright a little more. Ready? Here we go. Let's sink those hips back and then the knees follow. Drive through those feet to lift, engaging the glutes. Target a lot of inner thigh here and the outside of our glute by being in this sumo stance, as well as our glute, our full glute, really. We're gonna go to our gorilla row, that hinge to stand next. 10 more seconds here. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so the stance is almost the same here. We're just switching those feet so they're forward now, okay? And that gives us room to pull in between our legs here, right? Let's get ready. Hips are gonna go back in 3, 2, and 1. Hinge. Nice neutral spine. It looks like you could put a tray on my back with a glass of water on top of it. That comes from really pushing your hips back. So you're gonna see an angle through your thigh. Your calf's probably gonna be straight up and down. And that angle comes from the knee to the hip, okay? Lateral lunges are after this. Two and 1. Oh my, okay. Lateral lunges. Remember, you can hold on to the front of your chair for here. You can do it without the chair, or you can be seated with your alternating abduction. Ready? And here we go. Go ahead and step it over. Stretch on one side, muscle contraction on the other. Stretch on the straight leg, contraction on the bent leg. Especially as you're driving up from that bent leg position, as you're pushing off the floor to bring your leg back in towards the center, that's when you're really hitting those glutes. Just 10 more seconds here. Then we're going to ground to overhead. Whoo. 3, 2, and 1. Remember, you can take extra rest if you need it. Timer's just our guide. This one's intense, okay? Ground overhead is next. Toes are forward, outside the width of our shoulder. I'll pick that box up and put it away. Here we go. Pick it up, put it away. So this is the same movement as our gorilla row, but instead of rowing, we pick the box up and we put it on the shelf. But the setup is the same. We hinge back into that the same exact way. So think about that, whether you're pulling really tough weeds, stubborn weeds out of the garden, or you're lifting up a heavy box to put on the shelf, you've really got to get those glutes involved in either of those movements, okay? Think about that when you're doing things in real life. 2 and 1, okay? Bow and arrow row, 2 more exercises, then we move on to our final block already. Let's get ready. Knuckles up towards the ceiling. 3, 2, and 1. We're gonna follow that elbow back with our eyes and return. working on our mobility through the shoulders and the thoracic spine, and also promoting healthy posture. Strengthening the shoulder joint. We're halfway through this one, and then we finish off with regular reverse lunges. Ten more seconds. 2 and 1. Okay, final exercise. Okay, reverse lunges. Both hands on the chair, one hand, no hand or weights, or you're seated doing your alternating seated leg press. Here we go. Back, lower down, drive it up, return, right? Remember, the quality of your work always trumps the repetitions, okay? Because once you nail the quality and you perform it with good form, then the repetitions will start to come, okay? But you have to do it in that order, right? We can't learn how to do it faulty and then try to build on that, okay? So don't feel discouraged if you're like, oh man, I only got like 4 quality ones in. That's okay. I'd rather see that than I would a bunch of ones that are not with good form, okay? 5 more seconds here and we break. 3, 2, and 1. Good job, guys. Get a drink. Whoo! Felt that. So our next block is going to be identical in format, okay? And this is our final block. So we have 18 more minutes, okay? And we are doing some upper body work with the first 3 exercises, and then some cardio / total body work on the second set. So we've got first 3 exercises. We've got a high row. So we're gonna push those hips back, okay? So like I'm looking for that neutral spine here. If you feel yourself kind of like this, you see I'm a little rounded there, think about pulling your shoulders back and down and keeping your core engaged here to help get you in a more neutral position. We're gonna high row, okay? Yeah, that's it. So the elbows are gonna come out right below the shoulders, but still up higher and out to the side. You see that? Right here. We show from a couple different angles, okay? And straight. So right here. So we're targeting more of our upper back and our rear delts than opposed to when we low row and we get our lats, okay? So that's our first exercise. After that, we are doing our hammer curls. So 45 seconds of our hammer curls. And then after that, we're doing 45 seconds of lateral raises. So think of strings being tied to your elbows, okay? And that puppet master, you're the marionette puppet, and that puppet master is pulling your elbows up, okay? So think of those strings. Yeah, that looks great. Okay, so there are our first 3. And then after that, we're gonna put the weights down. We're gonna, our next exercise is gonna be our goal post with a side step. So we're gonna start to introduce some cardio into the block, side step, but still working on that posture. Okay, so that's our next one. Then we're gonna go into, you can grab your weights again here, or you can just do a body weight ham curl and tricep kickback. So with or without weights here, okay? And then our third one is without weights, squat, squat, knee, squat, squat, knee. You're gonna take that at your pace, okay? You do not have to, my pace is just what I did there, but you do it what's, what works for you. What's your fast, okay? All right, so 45 seconds is going on the clock. We're gonna start with that high row. So we've got 2 rounds of our upper body first, okay? So weights, this can be done seated or standing and look the same. You're just bending down from your seated position here a little bit. In 3, 2, and 1. So remember, I'm thinking of that neutral spine. I'm pushing my hips back, right? Those elbows are sliding up, up. I'm thinking about pinching my shoulder blades together at this end range when my elbows are up high and out. I'm squeezing my shoulder blades together. Where's your core? You're still trying to pull that belly button back towards your spine. 10 more seconds here. And we're gonna go to hammer curls. 5, 3, 2, and 1. Good. All right, so you should feel that work all through your upper back in here. We're gonna stand it up tall now here, okay? Hammer curls are next. So our knuckles are facing out to the sides. Ready? And begin. Make that mind muscle connection. So when you're pulling these dumbbells up, think of like you're trying to pull your dumbbells up through quicksand or something. You know, create that mental resistance in your mind. That's really how you dial into that mind muscle connection. Okay. You can make it more challenging just with your mind. That's the amazing part, right? Is think, or you're trying to pull those weeds out from either side of you here, right? 10 more seconds here, and then we're going to go into lateral raises. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, recover. Lateral raises are next. Remember, you want to think of that. We're a marionette puppet. That puppet master's got those strings tied around their elbows, and that's what lifts up the whole arm, okay? And 3, 2, and 1. So my core is engaged. And my elbow and wrist stays like one unit, right? So that way that puppet master lifts it up. We're targeting the top of our shoulder here. We're going to go back to our high rows next, okay, for round 2. 10 more seconds here. 3, 2, and 1. Excellent. Okay, so we're going back to the top. So now we're, once again, our feet are about shoulder width apart. Push those hips back, okay? Put a contraction in your glutes and keep your core engaged here, okay, as we get ready to high row, right? So elbows come out a little bit more to the side here. All right, I'm trying to squeeze those shoulder blades together. Think of like being a nutcracker, right? Cracking a nut in between your shoulder blades, or cracking an egg in between your shoulder blades. Good, just 10 more seconds here. We're going back to hammer curls. 3, 2, and 1, okay. Hammer curls are next. Knuckles are out to the side. Deep breath. Here we go. In 3, 2, and 1. Remember, we have the ability to make this harder with our mind, believe it or not, right? You just gotta create that resistance. Fifteen more seconds here. 5, 3, 2, and 1. Excellent. Lateral raises, okay? Remember, think of that marionette string on those elbows. Okay, core is engaged, glutes are engaged. 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. we're going into our second set of exercises for 2 rounds next. 5, 3, 2, and 1. Excellent. So now let's go ahead and try to pick up our heart rate here a little bit. We've got our goalpost fly with those lateral taps. If you're seated, just go ahead and abduct from side to side. Let's get ready and begin. So think of what I want you to think about. You're strengthening your back by pulling this open, similar to our high row, right? That we just did in block in that first set of exercises. But also I want you to pay attention to the beautiful stretch that you get through the front of your chest and shoulder joint there, okay? Remember that we're often just as a whole, collectively, tight through the front of our body and weak in the back of our body from just the way culture has led us, you know, from caveman days to now. 2 and 1. Good. Woo. Heart rate's going to start coming up here, guys. Tricep kickback with the ham curl kickback, with or without weights. You choose here, okay? Ready? And begin. Here we go. Go at your pace, and remember, take your drinks when you need them. Timer just guides us through our format. Keep us on time, that's all. Woo. 10 more seconds here. 5, 2, and 1. Good. All right. Challenging. 2 squats to a knee raise, 2 squats, other side knee raise. Adjust your pace as you see fit here, okay? Because we're going through 2 rounds of this. It's going to get breathy, okay? So squat, drive up, squat, drive up. Pick that knee up. Squat, drive up, squat, drive up. Pick that other knee up, okay? If you're seated, you're doing an alternating leg extension and then an alternating knee raise. 10 more seconds here. Then we go back to that goalpost fly, side step. 3, 2, and 1. Whew. Excellent in those basics. Here we go, round 2 of this. Goalpost with that side step fly. Ready, begin, boom. If you want to have some fun with it, you can kind of like, and you have the space for it, you can kind of side step forward and back. Feels a little more dancey, you know, it's a little more fun. Just an option if you want to add something to it. You don't have to, you can just keep it side to side. Whew. 10 more seconds here. I'm breaking a sweat, guys. Are you? Woo. 3, 2, and 1. Get your drinks. Tricep kickback, ham curl kickback. Option on those weights, okay? Let's get ready. 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. Remember, you can always start late or stop early if you need a little more recovery time. This is your workout. The important thing is you show up, you're consistent, right? The habit is where it all starts. You got to have the habit. 10 more seconds. Whew. 5, 2, and 1. Oh my, oh my. Back to 2 squats with that knee raise. And then we go back to the first block, so we'll get a little recovery there, okay? 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. Remember, your pace, guys, okay? Take it, because the quality is much more important than just trying to get a ton of reps into that allotted time. Okay, so just take your time and think about your movement. When I lower down, are my heels connected to the floor with my squat? Am I driving through my heels on the way up and squeezing my glutes? Oops, I did 3 squats. Trying to talk and exercise at the same time. 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Woo! Back to high row, okay? Deep breath. Here we go. All the way to the top on the second block. Now we're going to push those hips back. Nice neutral spine here. Keep your core engaged. Think of squeezing those shoulder blades together. Halfway. Hammer curls are next. And remember, everything we're doing now is the last time. We're done after this block, guys, okay? So if you're feeling challenged, just remind yourself, I've come this far. Maybe I need a little recovery or a little drink, but I can finish this out. 2, and 1, okay? Hammer curl. Big inhales and exhales. This is our recovery time. This is like active recovery before we go back into that cardio again. Okay, ready? Here we go. Gives us a chance for our heart rate to settle down, but we're still moving, right? That's what helps increase our endurance too, when we go through these intervals of intensity. And then we cool down, we bring it back down, but we're not totally stopping, right? We're still moving. Okay, those are the things that help build your endurance up so that you can go longer, you have more stamina. 10 more seconds here. 3, 2, and time. All done with those. Lateral raises are next. Let's think of our marionette puppet. And if you're getting really fatigued here, if you feel like it's, take the weights away. Work on it. Remember, like I said, mind-muscle connection is everything. If you can just apply your thought to that muscle group, which is we're working the top of the shoulders here, and telling that muscle, you know, engage, right? You can focus on that mind-muscle connection even without weights here, okay? So if you're feeling tired, you need to take a rest from the weights, I understand. It's just a tough one today. But guess what, guys? We're back to cardio after this. Dun, dun, dun. 3 more minutes of cardio and then we're done, okay? So remember, our first one coming up is going to be that goalpost fly with those side steps, okay? 5 more seconds of lateral raises. 2, and 1. Excellent. Weights can go aside if you're using them. Get your drink if you need it. All right. Goalpost flies and that side step in 2, and 1. Here we go. Boom. Again, we're squeezing those shoulder blades together, but also take notice to that stretch when we're right here, right? Like when we're right here, feel that stretch through the front of your body. Whew. Last time for everything, guys. Keep on telling yourself, right? Yep, and that's right. You can add that if you want to add a little fun to it. Pivot it forward and back. Make it a little more dancey. Just 10 more seconds here, guys. 5, 3, 2, and 1. Oh, man. Okay, what do we got? Option to use your weights for our tricep kickback with our ham curl kickback, okay? Ready? And begin. So we got 3 joints moving with this. We've got the elbow joint moving, the knee joint, and the ankle joint. The more joints we have moving simultaneously, the more it's going to pick our heart rate up because the more muscle groups we have working. You know, it's our muscles that control those joints and their movement. Whew, 15 more seconds here. 5, 3, 2, and 1. All done with that one. Final one, guys. 2 squats with the knee raise, okay? Let's get ready. In 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. At your own unique pace. Squat, knee. Halfway. Ten seconds. Whew. 3, 2, and 1. Nice work, guys. That was tough. It was tough today. All right, so take a moment to catch your breath, get a drink here. All right. Let's start from the top down with a neck and trap stretch. Big inhale and exhale. One more big inhale and exhale here. Let's gently come out of that and do the same thing on the other side. So big inhale and exhale. And again. Good. From here, let's widen our stance and put our hands on the top of our thighs here, right? I want you to just kind of drop your shoulder to one side and then drop it to the other, okay? Drop it. And just feel that stretch through the side body, the rib cage, the shoulder complex. I'm going to show you from the side. So this is a dynamic cool down stretch here where we're stretching, but we've got movement throughout that movement the whole time. Good. A few more here. 3, 2, and 1. Good. Bring those legs back together. Let's forward fold over the back of our chair. This is like a modified down dog. If you're super advanced and you know yoga and you want to do a down dog and you feel good about that, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we can do this modified one on the chair. This is going to be our static stretch now. Okay, so we're just going to hold here and we're just going to feel, take your deep breaths. Just try to hold into this stretch. Remember, the goal is not to force yourself into a stretch further than your body wants to go. Find your edge. Find where your body's like, yep, I'll go to here. Don't try to force it to go any further. And once you're in that position, then that's when you really try to let go and relax, right? Total opposite of force. More of a submission. All right, guys, from here, let's go ahead and walk it together. And we're going to close it off with some ankle flex and pointing here. So 5, and then circles for 5. Good, and then you can do the other side too. Flex and point for 5, and then circles for 5 each direction. All right, and we'll go ahead and take a nice big inhale up, palms together, exhale to heart. One more time. Palms together, exhale to heart. Thank you, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. That was a toughie. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns, and I'll help you to the best of my ability. I always train, if somebody's like, say somebody's like brand new, I've never squatted before, I will always start them with a sit squat, because like you just said, you know, the squatting pattern is you always want to think like you're taking a seat. Okay, so that starts with a hinge. Like, think about it. I'm going to put the chair right behind me here. That starts with a hinge, right? I could complete that hinge and come into my gorilla row or something like that, right? But I'm taking a seat. I'm not trying to pick something up off the floor or pull a weed, right? So I'm coming here, and then my knees come into play here. When we hinge, we're not using as much knee. It's more about that hip. You see this angle because the hip is pushing back. But when we sit, our knees come into play. And like a good rule of thumb is that you want to make sure that why they say don't let your knees come before your toes is because when somebody's new to a squat pattern, sometimes the first thought is, oh, squat, I'm going to bend my knees. See this? And then my heels are popping off. Like they try to do their knees first instead of their hips, right? So that's where that don't bring your knees over your toes comes from, is it's trying to tell people that you got to do this first. You got to do this first versus this first, right? And that's why your heels need to stay connected to the ground. Because essentially, look, I'm going to sit in a chair. I'm not going to like guide it with my knees first to sit down. I can't even do it, right? It's like, where's the bottom, you know? So that's why we learn with the seat, because the hips go first and then the knees follow. So I hope that makes some sense to you of why they say don't bring the knees over the toes. It's because you want to initiate through your hips with the squat, and then your knees gracefully follow. And the easiest way to do it is by sitting in the chair, because we've been doing that since we could walk, right? You're always going to initiate it by just pushing back here a little bit first. And you notice when you do this, you're much more stable this way, because the weight's in the heel of your foot, the weight's, your glutes, your biggest muscles in your body are supporting you, right? And you can support from this position versus your knees taking all the load here and your heels popping off the floor and you losing your balance. Okay, so yeah, you always want to think about that squat pattern as initiating right here, hips first. And then what static means is you hold. So a static stretch, like I'm going to show you an example of a dynamic versus static, okay? So dynamic stretching is when we move, and you most frequently do that in the beginning of your exercise, okay? So I'm stretching, but I'm adding movement, right? They're quick stretches. I'm getting a stretch through my inner thigh, stretch through my inner thigh, and this is dynamic. I'm going to warm up like this, okay? Static is at the end of your workout, and you hold. Think of like yoga poses, right? So here, now that same dynamic movement I just did, now I'm static. You can even like hold on, you can hold on to something. The idea is you're trying to hold the stretch for an extended period of time versus moving through the stretch, okay? So that's what a static stretch is. So most commonly, like you think of yoga poses where you might hold them for 30 seconds or a minute or something like that. That's all static work.